Hi, it's Joe here. I'm here for Through the Craft Room Door magazine. Got another video project for you. This is really fun and simple. It's a great way to add metal embellishments to your cards and projects. And what I mean by metal embellishments are this type of thing. Isn't this pretty? It looks like a piece of metal filigree that has been cut out. This is a metal heart charm. And this one, I'm not sure if you can see, but it actually has a little bit of dimension. And I'll show you how you can achieve that. And I'm just using silver embossing powder today. You can use any color you want. Doesn't necessarily have to be silver or even metal color. You could use red, green, blue, whatever you'd like to do. So with that, what you're going to need is, I'm going to be using a Versamark pad. You could use any type of an embossing fluid pad. It's just something to, you'll need to adhere your embossing powder to. And of course, you'll also need some embossing powder. And I'm just using Zing silver just because I really like the silver color. And you'll need a heat tool, which I have my trusty heat tool here. And what I use to collect my powder in is the coffee filters from the dollar store. And probably a pair of tweezers or even something such like this, the poke type tool. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. And I'm going to be working on a piece of scrap cardstock. Okay, so let's see. First one we'll do, let me go ahead and show you the little filigree and it's going to be hard to see on this white cardstock. But what I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to take my Versamark, and you can just either put it on here like this and just press your item down into it, or you can flip it over and do it on the paper. It's up to you. Now, since I have my tweezers, I'm just going to grab this off of here like this, and I do have some embossing powder already in here, so I'm going to put this in, kind of give it a good shake around. I'm going to use the tweezers, shake it off, and pull it out. And I'm going to lay it on my paper. And now I'm going to go ahead and hit it with the embossing tool, although I'm going to keep my tweezers handy here so it doesn't go flying off the paper. And once it warms up, it's really, really pretty look. Now, you could leave it at that with just one coat, but I don't know if you can really see. Let me try and hold it up because this is still a little bit warm. But you'll notice in some spots it still has a little bit of bumpiness, just because maybe you didn't get quite enough in that one spot, but I like to let it cool. I'm going to pop this up just to cool off. If you pick it up while it's too hot, you're going to end up with fingerprints in it. So I'm just going to take this again, and I'm going to press it again into my pad. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put that back down into my embossing powder, give it a good shake around, make sure it's pressed in there. I'm going to pop it back out, and again just lay it back down here, and we're going to hit it again with the heat gun. And now you'll notice that it really took on a very nice smooth look. So with that one, that's probably all I would do. It's just the two. Now imagine a border. This is just a border that could be punched from like a Martha Stewart punch, an EK Success punch. This I actually cut out with my Cameo, but since it's kind of longer, I'm going to press it onto the item. You don't necessarily have to do the whole thing at one time. If you wanted to, you could do it a half at a time. I am just going to pour the embossing powder out rather than trying to dip it in there. Okay, I'm only going to do half of it right at the moment. Here, well, a little more than half. So we'll go ahead and do the same thing. So now you have a beautiful border. But again, this one, I really think it needs a second coat. So I would do exactly the same thing again as we did with the filigree. Just go ahead and put a second coat on it just to give it a little bit more dimension. How about these frames? Aren't they beautiful? All the different companies have something similar to this. Again, I just cut it out with my Cameo, but I know there's Spellbinders dies like this, there's memory box dies, all different kinds of dies. So I'm going to, again, I'm sorry, it's kind of hard to see, but I'll kind of keep it against there. So I'm just going to do half at a time. Make sure that's well inked up. I probably should re-ink that pad. Put the embossing powder on. And again, we're just going to heat it up. I love watching what it looks like when it heats up. This is like one of the first things that I learned way back when. Now, as I was saying, you end up with a texture if you only do one coat, especially on a large area. And you see that where it's kind of textured? You might like it. It kind of looks like a hammered look. But if you want to make it smoother, let's cool it down. It's cool to the touch, so we're good. You don't want to end up with it sticking to your ink pad. So again, I'm just going to tap that where I had done it before. And we'll do some more embossing powder. Tap off. And we'll heat it up again. Honestly, I would probably even go as much as a third coat on this, just because I'd like a really, really smooth finish. But isn't this pretty as an accent piece? And I'm going to do one more. Let me show you one of the little charms. I thought these are really cute. Again, I just cut them out. And since this is small enough, I'm just going to put it down on my stamp pad and press into that. Okay. And we'll pick it up with the tweezers. And now I'm just going to dip it into the embossing powder that we already have in here. Tap it off. And you'll see there's a lot of little bubbles in it. Again, I'm just going to wait for it to cool, and then I'm going to go ahead and do it one more time. And I think that would be really pretty. Now, if you wanted to, you could go one step further to create a technique. Basically the same thing you're doing when you have the ultra thick embossing powder is if you get a heavy enough coat on there, of course, the more coats there are, the longer it takes to cool, but it still cools fairly quickly. But you could ink a rubber stamp up with your Versamark and then stamp into that and have an impression. So let me go ahead and re-ink this up again. And we're going to go ahead and dip it into the embossing powder. Bring that back out. And I'll just hold on to this and emboss it. You can get. Okay, for some reason we got a lot of bubbling in that one. So if I dip this right now, you'll see it'll actually stick to that embossing powder in most places. Some of it had already cooled, but that's okay. Let me show you what we'll get with that. I think that's really pretty. I hope that this might be something you would consider trying. Again, these little filigree pieces, I mean, they just come out so pretty and would make a beautiful accent on any card. And the same thing with the little charms. And once this one cools a little bit more, I'll pick it up. But you have your little frames you can do, your borders that you can do. And again, you're not limited to the silver embossing powder. You could do gold, you could do bronze, you could do red, blue, whatever color that you have. Maybe if you have a snowflake die and you just want to create and make it where you're not going to put glitter on it, but you have a sparkly embossing powder, you can do that as well. But anyway, I hope you'll give this a try. A lot of times when you're cutting out die cuts, you always have a little bit extra pieces sometimes. Just try putting them into some embossing powder and work with it and see what you come up with. You'd be surprised at what little embellishments will add. So thanks for stopping by, and I hope you'll check us out with the magazine. We have lots of fun tutorials and ideas and inspiration. So stop by and check us out. Bye.